August is What Will Be Your Legacy Month. This morning, we're checking in with a local author to find out what positive changes people can make now so that they leave a legacy that will help future generations.
So joining us with more is author Karen Sullivan from Sullivan, I should say. She wrote the book Bitter or Better. She's here with us this morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Okay, let's first talk a little bit about the book. What's the concept and how did it come to be?
Well, I had been writing a column for the Pioneer Press as a contributing columnist for a number of years, and people started saying, you should write a book. And I said, well, what should I write about? So I initially thought I would combine some of my favorite columns about people dealing with life's challenges. Excuse me. Sent it to an editor. She said, no, that's not your book. You need to write more about your backstory, because I faced a lot more challenges than most people have. And so I decided to combine the two. And so it's sort of a hybrid memoir where I tell my story and then I weave in stories of other people that I've met and written about, because I approached it from the standpoint of I'm both a student and a teacher. And so what's developed is sort of a hybrid memoir that just talks about how to navigating life and the challenges that we have, because everyone has challenges.
Everybody has challenges. So if you can, just give us a little bit of your backstory that you've sort of woven in the pages here.
My backstory. Well, I had sort of a tumultuous childhood. Dealt with a lot of disease, cancer. My daughter had a bone marrow transplant. My husband had heart disease, and sort of everything came to a head in 2009 when he died of a heart attack 10 days before Christmas. And that was the point at which I was kind of at this crossroads. Okay, I've had all of this stuff, I've powered through it all, but this one could really take me down. And I just happened to meet a priest at a social function, had had a little wine with dinner, and sat down and sort of poured my heart out to him and posed, those questions like, why do the good die young? Why do my kids not have a dad? And why have our shoulders had to be so broad? And the response that he gave me formed the title of the book. And he said, Karen, we all have something, but you can choose. You can be bitter or you can be better. And it's like a light went on, and I refer to those words as my North Star, and they guide me every day. So that has been the foundation for the work that I do now as a speaker and a writer, just talking about how we can choose better, because it's a choice, but you have to live that choice and you have to work that choice, and it's not always easy to live it.
I love that concept, because bitter or better, it's so much easier to be bitter than it is to be better. And we could all find moments in our life, whether it be a family member being diagnosed with a health condition, whether it be, someone losing a job. There are always opportunities to get down and wonder, why me? Why is this happening? What is your advice for people who do want to, leave a better legacy and just and live a better, more wholesome life?
Well, first of all, the two words, why me, I think are the two most destructive words that you can put together, because it just takes you to a woe is me place. And that's not where I want to live my life. What I've done in terms of the legacy is just try to do things to help other people, look up, reach out, step forward. And so the book shares, my experiences going on 2 medical mission trips and how helpful that is. But what I'm really focused on now is this concept of living in the moment, but preparing for the inevitable. Because we tend to live our lives with our heads in the sand, like we don't have an expiration date, but we do. And so there were 2 stories that you had on this morning that really tie in nicely. Home. Well, it's the anniversary of the 35W bridge collapse, and I wrote about that. And those people who died or were injured didn't leave home that day thinking that this was going to happen. And so it makes you wonder, did they have a will? If they had a blended family, had they figured out how the money was going to be dispersed? If they have a special needs child like I do, did they have guardianship set up? Did they have a trust set up? There are all those things that you need to plan for. Have you had the conversation about whether you want to be buried or cremated? We went through that in my house. It was very painful. So those are the things that I try to bring to the fore. Prince is another example. Died without a will. And so his legacy, much as we love his music and his genius, is sort of tarnished by the fact that all this time, money and resources are being spent litigating his estate, rather than putting all that money into philanthropy, which is something that he was passionate about. But, because he didn't make that decision, others are battling it out. And we know that money can just cause so much angst and conflict among family members. I just am determined that that not happen with my kids. And so I've put everything together in what I call my box of love, and it's everything they need after I'm gone.
That's great. And you've also kept your husband's memory alive for your kids.
Oh, for sure.
That's so important too as people pass on.
Right.
You know, it's hard for people to think about death. It's something that not every family is comfortable talking about, but we know it is something that it is inevitable, and that really we need to just look at it kind of more matter-of-factly and but also with kind of the depth of knowledge of what's important after we're gone.
Right. I think of it as a gift of love, first to yourself and second to your loved ones. To yourself because if you've got something hanging, like, you know, and I talk about this in the book, you know, we kept saying we need to have the financial powwow. Well, when my husband died, I really didn't know how much money I had. I didn't know if I could go buy Christmas gifts for my kids. And so it took a while for me to sort out, you know, where things were.
Sure.
And so I don't want my kids to have to worry about that. As a single mom, I don't want them to be financially responsible for me when I'm older. If I get ill, I've got long-term care insurance now because I don't want to be a burden. You know, we don't have a family cabin, but if we did, you know, where's the cabin going to go? I look at my friends who do, and they're not talking about what's going to happen, as if it's never going to happen.
Karen, we want to talk more, but other people will probably want to chat with you too. So she's going to be talking with her about her book at Barnes & Noble at the bookstore in Eagan, Saturday, August 13th, that is. It starts at 1 p.m. So if you'd like to chat with her, learn more about the book. 11 o'clock. Okay. 11 o'clock. There we go. Starts at 11 o'clock on the 13th.
All right. Well, I love the title too. I like that, you know, that suggestion that we have a choice, being bitter or better.
Right.
So, Karen Sullivan, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks
and
for having
talking about a great idea, a good subject, a great jumping off point for conversation at home.